This is Gemara Menachos Daf Chaf Gimel. Apologies, this year is uploading a little bit late. Hopefully, b'siyata d'shemaya, we should be back on track after this, as well as those who get the share via the WhatsApp chat. I also apologize that yesterday's share was a bit late. Hopefully now everything should be back in order. Says the Hilgi Gemara, 3 lines down, Chaf Gimel Amid Aleph. Itmar. Says the Gemara, Koimates de Minchas Chayte Sheshmanoi. Rav Yochanan Amar Pasol V'Reishakish Atzmai Mishach Shechai B'Shiyarei Halog Umalei. So a Nacham Achloikas Rav Yochanan Reish Lakish, which as first value, first look, seems absolutely no shaykhs to the previous Gemara, and you are correct if you feel that way, because it is no shaykhs. But as we'll see, the kasha is going to be related to the previous discussion, and that's why this is brought in over here. So the case is, we have a kaimet of a minchas chayte sheshmeinai that has oil. After the kamitza is removed, oil is placed in it. The problem is, a minchas chayte is not supposed to have oil. Rish Lakish says it's possible, whereas Rav Yochanan says possible, whereas Rish Lakish says no. Hu atzmai mishar shecha yishrab p'shiyari alog. The kaimetz against the remnants of the lug from a different carbon mincha that yes has oil, umalehu, and then bring it up on the mizbeach. Frek the Gemara of I v'aksev lo yisem la Hashem lo yitin ala levayna. The pasuk about a minchas chayte seemingly indicates that there's not supposed to be anything. The pasuk by the minchas chayte teaches us that there's not any oil. So why? Yes, explains the Gemara. What the pasuk means is that should not have shemen like the other carbon minchos. That's how Rish Lakish is going to learn. That you should not add oil to the mincha before the kamitza is removed. However, a little bit of oil, says Rish Lakish, will not passel it. Frak the Gemara Rav Yochanan Reish Lakish. Charesh and his arev balol. A dry mincha is mixed together with a balol, with a mixed and oily mincha. Yakriv, it's brought on the mizbeach. Rav Yehuda Imer lo Yakriv, says Rav Yehuda, no, should not be brought on the mizbeach. So what is this case? My love. What does it mean? Again, it's a case of a charev, a dry mincha, that is a misarev v'balul. And in this case, we have a machlekes, Rav Yehuda and the Tanakama. Says the Gemara, what is the case? My love is the case down of minchas chayte, our case. Ti'ari v'kaim is a minchas nedava that was mixed with the kamitza minchas nedava and has oil in it. So what do we see? We see that in this case, what did the Tanakama say? In this case, the Tanakama said that it's going to be able to be brought. Why? Because it was only mixed with the oil of another carbon. However, if it were to have its own oil, l'chayra, the chacham would be maskim. It's no good. Kasha on Reish Lakish that says it is good. Responds the Gemara, no, loy, minchas barim ve'ilim, be'minchas kvasim. That's the case. And the case has nothing to do with the minchas chayte at all. And therefore, it's not a kasha bichlal. Frak the Gemara of Obehedya Katanila. Ask the Gemara, but in that case we know explicitly in the Braisa that says what? Minchas part of Eilim, minchas kvasim, and v'charish and zari v'balul. Yakriv, Rav Yehuda Omer lo yakriv. So seemingly the Braisa says explicitly this case. Says the Gemara, no, as one can anticipate, kafurishei kamefarish la. The second case in the Braisa of charish and zari v'balul is explaining the original case. Therefore, there's no kasha on Rish Lakish at all. Now let's go back. Bayi Rava. Rava takes us back to our original discussion. Zogt, frekt Rava, or Rava as a shayla, I should say. Kaimetz shemitza shemeina al gabe eitzim. We have a kemitza that the oil was squeezed Al gabe, on top of the wood, on the wood of the mizbeach, the oil was taken out to fuel the fire, and then the kamitza itself is placed up there. Mao. Do we say chabure oilin kailin dami lamaisa it's mechubar lamaisa it's attached, it's touching. Therefore, it's like the mizbeach itself, and therefore the oil, the shemen, is part of the kamitza. Oil lav kailin dami. Omer le Ravina le Ravashi lav hainu de Rav Yechon Reish Lakish. Says the Gemara, this is a different Rav Yechon Reish Lakish. That what itmar hamale, hamale iver shein boy kezayis. Someone puts up an aver, it does not have a kezayis, or ve'etzem mashlimo kezayis. Someone brings up an aver, it does not have a kezayis and basar on it. And the bone, mashlim lekizayis, and the bone is mashlim to the requisite shir kizayis. Rav Yechon Amar Chayev Reish Lakish Amar Pater. What's this machlekes? Rav Yechon Amar Chayev why? Chibur yoylin koylin dami. Reish Lakish Amar Pater. Chibur and lav koylin dami. So says the Gemara, our aforementioned discussion is mamish machlekes Rav Yechon Reish Lakish. Says the Gemara. Tibayler Rav Yechanan, Tibayler Reish Lakish. Says the Gemara, not so fast. Tibayler Rav Yechanan, Rav Shaila is a Shaila according to both Rav Yechanan and Reish Lakish. And as much as it sounds shver, says the Gemara, nein, it's a Shaila on both. Meaning, much as it sounds shver that we already had this machlekes, it's not. And Rav Shaila could be asked to both Rav Yechanan and Reish Lakish. Tibayler Rav Yechanan, that what I can look Rav Yechanan asim ele be'etzem. Maybe when it's an etzem, it's a bone that's mashlim to kizayis. That's the shayla. Demina debasu, it's the same min. Aval hai lamina dekaimetu. The oil is not the same min. Loy, maybe it won't work. Oidel mafil Reish Lakish loy kamer ele be'etzem. Maybe Reish Lakish only said his din only with regarding to the etzem. Why? Dvar mifrashu. Because a bone is something which is separated from the meat. Meaning it's able to be separated. If it gets separated on the mizbeach, there's no mitzvah to put it back. Aber shemen, aval oil, the lavar mefarishu, can't get separated on its own. Says the Gemara Teku. So really the shaila of Rava, when Rava cleared the shaila of a kaimetz, shamitza shemena al gabi eitzim, is it chabur yoylin kailin dami, I love kailin dami. And we thought, says the Gemara, this is an explicit Rav Yechon Reish Lakish, we're concluding that name, it's a shaila according to both, and we don't have a teretz taker, we have to wait for Eliyahu Hanavi for this shaila. Continues the Naya Mishnah on the bottom of Chav Gimel Amud Aleph with karbanos, menachos, particularly they get mixed together. Shtei minchos shloi nikmetzu. We have two carbon minchos that there was no kamitza yet done. V'nizar vuzu bezu, and they get mixed. Im yachlik moitz bezu bifnei atzmai zu bifnei atzmai ksheira. If you can do a kamitza on each one on its own, it's going to be kosher. Vim lav, it's going to be pasul. Now the case over here has to be, we have a large vessel. Two different karbanos fell into that vessel. Part of them, of course, get mixed together. But now there's going to be part on the sides. Imagine 2 cups of flour poured into a bowl. So in the middle, they'll be mixed, but on the sides, they'll still be each one individually. So if you could do a kamitza from each one, it's kosher. Vim lav sulois. We have a kamitza that got mixed with the mincha. It does not have that did not yet have a kamitza done. Lo yaktir, you cannot burn it. Vim hiktir. Again, we have a kaimitz that was mixed with sun that did not have the kaimitz done. Don't burn it. But if you already burnt it, the one that the kamitza was done works. And the one that the kamitza was not done, does not work. Says the Gemara, third case. What happens if the kamitza is mixed with the shirayim? Shel b'shirayim shel chaverti, they're its own shirayim or it's a different carbon shirayim. Lo yaktir, but v'miktir oila lebailim. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Chisda, and we're going to see that this discussion of today is going to piggyback on that tremendous Shas sugya that we referenced yesterday, the Machlekes of Yehuda and the Chachamim, whether min b'minai batal, whether when we have one little bit it can be batal in its own type or not. Says Rav Chisda, nevela betela b'shchuta. A nevela meat is batal in a larger amount of shchuta of shechted meat. Why? Sheyesh l'shchut shetas a nevela. Because it's impossible for the shchuta to come tamei as a nevela, and therefore they're considered of as min b'she'enoi minoi. Min b'she'enoi minoi. Alike with non-alike, everyone agrees. You have classical bittul b'raiv that the majority nullifies the minority. Ushchuta einoi batal b'nevela. However, the fakarta way, shchuta meat does not become batal in a larger amount of nevela. Why? Because the nevela could become similar to shchuta. What does that mean? Because the halacha is when the meat spoils, when nevela meat, nevela being an animal that died without shchita, or an animal that has a fatal, that's a treifa, an nevela, an animal that dies without shchita. That animal, when it's misricha, when it's disgusting, there's no longer tama on it. So says the Gemara, therefore, since one could transform to the other, therefore it's considered min b'minoi, and therefore there'll be no batal according to Rav Yehuda. Says the Gemara, that's all whom Rav Chisda, Rav Chanina, Mari says Rav Chanina, kol she'efshal liyos k'mayoi einoi batal, kol yeshal liyos k'mayoi batal. Says Rav Chanina, diametrically opposing the exact opposite. If the minority could change, then that's when we understand when there's going to be bittul, not if the majority. According to Rav Chisda, we look at the larger amount. Can the larger amount become the other? Says the Gemara, the shchuta cannot become the nevela, but the nevela could become similar to the shchuta. Rav Chanina says, no, you have to look at it the opposite way. You look at the minority, the smaller ingredient. So says the Gemara, Aliba Diman, this machlekes. It's machlekes in the bottom of Chav Gimel and Aleph, machlekes Rav Chisda versus Rabbi Chanina, a machlekes seemingly relating to which of the entities we look at, klape bittul, do we look at the majority or the minority? Who is this going according to? Meaning, let's go back. We have machlekes Rabban and Rabbi Yehuda. Says the Gemara, Ali b'dir Rabbanan, according to the Rabbanan, Amri Oilin, according to the Rabbanan, we have a Shayla. Amri Oilin Hudulay Mevatel Adadi. Avamin b'minay batel. The Rabbanan said, only that which goes on the Mizbeach, there's no din bittul. But afilu avol min b'minay, they held it is batel. So can we go with the Rabbanan? And here, leave it to Rav Yehuda. What's the problem as we turn over to Chav Gimel Amid Beis? Then, remember the case of Yehuda, he said if it has a mare of dam, it goes out after it looks. So says the Gemara, whichever way you look at it, vaidi, says the Gemara, min b'minayu. So whom is this machlekes of Chisda going according to? Ella, says the Gemara in the second line of Chav Gimel Amid Beis, you know we're going according to Ella liva de Rav Chanina, Titani Rav Chia, excuse me, Titani Rav Chia, Nevela Shchuta Betela Izu Bezu, Nevela and Shchuta are batal each other. But who does Rav Chia go according to? Rav Chia liva de man, you leave it there upon an Amri Eilen Hudalam Avatal Adadi Amin Vina batal. But leave the Rav Yehuda come in Vina, the Rav Yehuda lay batal. So we're back to square one. Says the Gemara, Laila Maliva de Rabbi Yehuda. Chikamer Rav Yehuda min b'mina leibatel. When does Rav Yehuda say is Meir Dika Yisoid? Min b'mina is leibatel is hanimili eichad avshir leilmavi kavosei. There's a caveat, there's an asterisk, there's a subset din within the sheet of Rav Yehuda min b'mina leibatel, which is it's only going to be leibatel if it's avshir leilmavi kavosei batel. If it's something like it, can be batel. So aval hecha, however, to lo yavshel avi kamase batel, then Rav Yehuda will not say his din of min b'minai is going to be loy batel. Says the Gemara, okay, let's go one step deeper. Ubahaka miflagi. And what is the machlokes Rav Chisda and Rav Chanina? So we just figured out they're going according to Rav Chia, and Rav Chia is going within Rav Yehuda, and within Rav Yehuda we have a caveat that has to be Avshel Mavi Kavasei. Says the Gemara. So what's the machlokes Rav Chisda and Rav Chanina? So Rav Chisda savar basar mevat lazin, Rav Chanina savar basar bat lazin. As we explained, do you go about the one being nullified or the one that is the larger quantity? And with that, now that we understand what the machlekes is, says the Gemara Tanan, about 13 lines down, the first one line is Rav Chanina. That's being alright, Rav Chanina. Shnei minchas leinik b'zu v'nizar b'zu b'zu. Our Mishnah, which of course is the reason why this machlekes is brought down. Says the Gemara. Shnei, what was the case? You have two carbon minchas that there was no kemitza done, and they're mixed one with the other. If, remember, they travel to the larger bowl, and there's part of it not mixed and part of it's yet mixed. So if you're able to do the kemitza from the unmixed parts on its own, ksherais and lafsulais, frak the Gemara, given the kamas mechada. Since and once you do the kemitza from one, idach havalei shirayim, v'lokum v'ata shirayim l'tivla, and it should not be batal mani. Who shita is the Mishnah going like? Is yes batal. El Pshita Rav Yehuda. But which Rav Yehuda? Shalom Lamanda Amar Basar Batal Azlinon. Batal Havik Mevata. Tchikamit Mida Chavli Shirayim Kihani. Elamanda Amar Basal Mevatal Azlinon. Shirayim Mikave Tivla. So says the Gemara. So that's going to be the raya to Shitas Rebbe Chia. But says the Gemara, Lema, Lema, Teloi ki Rav Chia. So says the Gemara, so it does not go with Rav Chia to write to Rav Chanina. Says the Gemara, no. Hasam k'de Rav Zeira, dam Rav Zeira, ne'ameres aktara b'aktaimis, ne'amer aktara b'shirayim. Ma aktara, just like the aktara, amura b'kaimetz, in akaimetz, mevatel es chaveiroi. Aktara b'shirayim, in shirayim, mevatel es akaimetz. Therefore says the Gemara, there is no raya. We'll go for one more raya, Toshima, from the next case in the Mishnah. Kaimetz, and izari b'mincha, shloinik mitzah. We have a kemitza that's mixed with a mincha that did not yet have the kemitza taken. Lo yakter, you should not burn it. V'mikter zushanik mitzah also l'bayil. The one that had the kemitza done works. V'shloinik also l'bayil. V'lokum avatel leitivla l'kaimetz. Now in the Mishnah, it's clear that the tevel, the mincha that did not yet have the kemitza done, it's basically tevel because you didn't do the proper avodah yet, is not mevatel l'kaimetz in as much as it's mixed. So mani, this case in the Mishnah, who is it going like? So basically, because each bit of it is chazi to take the kemitza from, so there's going to be bits of avlei min b'minai, umin b'minai loy batal mandamer basal batal azlinon. But says the Gemara, according to Rav Chanina, kaimetz Mika have tivla lema delay Rav Chia. So we see another raya that does not go with the way that Rav Chia is learning a raya to Rav Chanina, says the Gemara, no raya, hanami kirav zera. And we finally go with the third raya from our Mishnah. What was the third case? Tashem after we learned to the white lines, this Arab comes to Bishirayim Shalchaver to lay active and make their also the Bailim. V'achad lavim vatal kibat of lokum avatal Shirayim the Kaimetz Mani Irabanan v'chulu Amar Rav Zera. So Rav Zera says Nachamal Nemer Aktara beKaimetz Nemer Aktara b'Shirayim Aktara b'Amur beKaimetz Ein Kaimetz vatal Chaverei Aktara Amar b'Shayim and Shayim vatal Kaimetz. Therefore, says Gemara Nachamal, we do not have a raya. So all three cases of the Mishnah, we thought could be a right of Chanina, but the Gemara deflects, it goes Shita to Rabbi Zera. We'll stop over here, the Gemara will continue trying to bring rayas, B'siyata Dishmaya.